Hey, what's going on, YouTube? How are you? Hiker Dave NE here. Thank you so much for coming by. So it's been about a week now, and I've gathered a little the information that I could about this little 3-year-old boy that got lost in the forest in some pretty rough terrain and was taken care of by a bear, is what this young boy said. So let's visit the story for a minute, and I'm going to let you know what I've kind of taken from a couple of videos that I've seen. And I didn't do any more research than any of you could do. It was just basically some YouTube videos, some Google search stories. But this is kind of what I've gathered from this story. Really, really interesting, this whole thing. His name is Casey Hathaway, 3-year-old boy from North Carolina. And he vanished for a couple days, 2 days. He got lost in rugged terrain, and the search was called off right away to start because of the weather. I believe it was the weather. And I forget, they searched for 12 or 14 hours, called off the search because of the weather, which really kind of tells a story of the kind of miraculous survival of this kid. He must have been a tough little kid, too, if you think about it. I mean, he must have been horrified. Just being lost in general is a frightening experience. Imagine a 3-year-old out in the middle of, where he may have been in just walking around aimlessly, wondering. Cold. The kid must have been freezing. It was 20 degrees, I believe, at one point. That's cold. With wind, 20 degrees, that's below zero. That's hypothermia 101 right there. You don't last long in that kind of weather. So his aunt, the boy was found. Thank God the boy was found, and he's okay. And his aunt said that he said to him that he hung out with a bear for 2 days. Now, the child never said Bigfoot, never once mentioned Bigfoot. And of course, I think a 3-year-old wouldn't really know what to call it, other than it was, large, hairy creature that sheltered him for 2 days. There's no really other way around that. You can conclude that this child was taken care of by somebody, a warm-blooded animal that kept him from freezing to death. Now, this is in the middle of the winter, okay? Bears hibernate in the winter. We all know that. But we also know that bears, I know from firsthand experience, black bear, for instance, I had a black bear cross my path up in New Hampshire in the middle of the wintertime. I didn't see the bear, but I saw the tracks cross over my snowshoe tracks, and I know that there was a bear out there with me at some point during the day. So bears do hibernate, but I think that they will wake up from their slumber if they're hungry enough, and they'll get out there and they'll look for some food. 20 degrees, with wind, if you add in a wind chill factor, it could have been, 10 degrees. That is really something that this strong little kid was able to survive that and was taken care of by what he says a bear. So he went missing from his grandmother's house January 22nd, and thankfully he was found. Now, he said that a bear watched over him, and so I know a little bit about black bear because I kind of have a phobia of a bear encounter when I'm out in my travels, when I'm out in the woods exploring. That is my biggest fear. Is a bear encounter, because a bear can chase me up a tree. A bear can run me down. You can't run. You need to. It's easy to make a mistake and have, a tragic encounter in a situation like that. So, bear is something I worry about constantly when I'm out exploring in the woods. And this child pretty simply just said, yeah, I was taken care of by a bear. And something warm-blooded kept him from freezing to death, for sure. So, as far as the black bear goes, they usually will run from humans. They're really skittish. That's why, I often, when I'm hiking, especially up north from where I live in Massachusetts, I don't carry a bell, but I will talk out loud. I'll clear my throat, cough. I'll say, hey bear, as I'm hiking around. And normally that would scare off any kind of bear in the area, black bear in the area. So there have been examples in the past, a couple of stories, we'll say alleged stories of Sasquatch helping a person that's lost in the woods or is in a bad situation. There are these scattered stories of it happening. So wouldn't be the first time ever that this has come out. That what I think a Bigfoot took care of this kid. I think Sasquatch curled up with this kid, kept him warm, kept him company, kept him alive, and there's some reasons for that, and I'll get into that in a second. So, in North Carolina, there have been a lot of sightings of Sasquatch, close to 100 in the years past. So this wouldn't be out of the ordinary. If you're a believer or a knower in Bigfoot, this area would be an area that Sasquatch could easily, with food and water, be in this area. There's a lot of country area in this area where he went missing, farms, thick forested area, and again, a great spot for a Sasquatch. Plenty of water, plenty of food, plenty of cover, easy to travel with the farmlands and drainage ditches and things like this that it can travel along without being seen. So, the questions that come up in my mind is how didn't this kid, this 3-year-old boy, not succumb to hypothermia? That is a huge question. I find it very, very hard to believe that a bear cuddled up next to this kid and took care of him for 2 days. I don't see it. A bear in the middle of the winter, coming out of hibernation, possibly out of hunger, is going to not eat this child. And I just can't see that. So as a believer myself, and I think most of you guys watching this is a Bigfoot channel, I think that we can agree the possibility is there that this child was saved by Sasquatch, which that's amazing. It's amazing and a miracle that this child survived. Again, getting back to a bear. And that it would hibernate. And a lot of people do believe that bears just hibernate right through the winter. And I know, like I said, firsthand, that a bear will come out of hibernation if it's hungry. But I think that something that's important to think about is the consequences of this 3-year-old child going missing in a area where Sasquatch potentially could live, right? Now, say Sasquatch did take care of this child to save its life. It could have been from self-preservation. It could have realized that if this boy continues to not be found, or if he dies out in the forest or in Bigfoot's habitat, there's going to be helicopters, search parties, horseback, all-terrain vehicles, massive amounts of people coming into his backyard, so to speak, into Bigfoot's area. And it might have been a self-preservation act by Sasquatch to keep this boy alive. And another thought that I had was that Bigfoot had sympathy for this boy, that he didn't want this little 3-year-old boy to die a horrible death, freezing to death out in the forest, and that it truly cared about the well-being of this child, and knowing its age and how young it is, really had no problem with presenting himself right to the boy. And the boy may have been frightened right away at first, but Sasquatch may have comforted the child. I mean, really, who knows what happened? I'd love to know really the details of it, but from a 3-year-old, you're not going to get a lot of detail. You're going to get what he believes he saw. He believes he saw a bear. So of course, from a 3-year-old's perspective, a Sasquatch could really just appear what it knows in in pictures or books, the three little bears, or Dr. Seuss books, and whatnot, that what a bear looks like, and this child could have thought, hey, this bear is taking care of me, and that's the story he told when he was found. Amazing story. This is one of those. I think this is one of those stories that are never going to be really told in detail because of the child's age, that he can't really communicate what he really saw. He can only tell you what he thinks he was looking at. But some of the circumstances around this story do remind me of David Paulides with his 411 missing, with the weather coming in and hampering the search. Fortunately, this story ended happily. I have children myself. I couldn't imagine my child out in the forest. I have older children now, 13 and 17. But, thinking back when they were just youngins, I mean, to have a child go missing for an hour is horrifying and heart-wrenching. So, first and foremost, the most important part of the story was that the boy is alive and he's okay. And then we can kind of look into, well, what happened? What's the details? I'm so curious about this, and I haven't done a video on it yet because I wanted to let some time go by and try to get some more information on this. But really nothing has been trickling out other than what the boy told his mom, and then his aunt, and then what the aunt says he said to her, that that it was a miracle that God intervened and sent him a bear, and the bear took care of him. So awesome story. One of those feel-good stories of a missing child that we don't hear enough about. And kudos to Sasquatch, whether it was a self-preservation act or just an act of pure kindness, and which I kind of follow along the lines that I really think that Bigfoot had cared about this child and cared for the child to make sure that he didn't perish out in the weather, knowing that this little boy he wouldn't make the night, never mind two nights or 2 days out all by himself. Harsh terrain, terrible weather. So that's my take on this story of Chris Hathaway. I want to make sure I get that right, so I'm not, I don't look like a buffoon. Casey Hathaway, 3 years old. Good for you, pal. And that's my take on the story. Thank you guys so much for coming by. I really do appreciate it. For some reason, I'm not sure why, I uploaded my last video about Bigfoot not being taken seriously, and about how come YouTube puts all these other videos, all these crazy videos up ahead of others, and they won't let me monetize it, but whatever. Oh, and about my channel being monetized, I want you guys to know, I have not seen any money from my channel. Zero. I don't know what the deal is. My channel has been monetized for a while now. I don't know why I don't get paid for it. They must keep that money. As Forrest Gump says, I never saw a penny of that. I don't know what's going on. I'm supposed to get like a confirmation code in the mail to verify my address, but I do want you guys to know I haven't received a single penny from any of my videos. I don't know what the deal is. I kind of don't really care, but I am interested. Why not, right? Why not for my gas money and for my beers, right? Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming by, and I'll definitely see you guys on the next one.